It's all about the politics, and at this moment, it's all about whether the president can pull off a last-minute deal and get Iran to his way of thinking, which might be only slightly easier than getting a brick to talk. This and much more. Welcome to MidPoint. The senior political reporter for Sunshine State News, Kevin Derby, joins us. Kevin, good to see you again.
Always a pleasure, Ed. Always a pleasure.
We got a lot to talk about, but let's real quick just hit the president here in Iran. Iran's using America brilliantly in all this. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're now running out the clock. We're at the end of the deadline. April is almost upon us. They're in last-minute negotiations over in Switzerland, and Iran continues to run out the clock. It's very curious to see Russia, England, John Kerry for the U.S. They're not all exactly on the same page. Where they're going to go from here, because they might get some minor R&D concessions that ironed out in the next 48 hours or so. But when push comes to shove, it looks like Iran outfoxed the president on this one.
Do you think the president, as some have indicated, is desperate, that word, desperate, to make a deal?
Well, I think he certainly wants to make a deal. I don't know if he's desperate to do that. The problem is right now there are very few other alternatives. Talking about using force in Iran, that isn't flying well either. Ambassador John Bolton, a potential Republican presidential candidate in 2016, came out with an op-ed last week calling for massive force against Iran, talking about bombing, taking things just to the point of war. And honestly, there was a lot of pushback there, even from his own party. There just isn't much a call for major military action against Iran here. There just isn't. So Iran is able to run out the clock here.
When we come back home in Washington today, two people tried to ram their car into the National Security Agency's entrance gates near Washington before guards shot one of them dead. Now, doesn't this tell us, when we hear all this about Secret Service and other organizations, we've got to have these people at the top of their game, because there are nut jobs out there like this who are going to look to do things like this. They won't think twice.
Yeah, it's a bizarre incident. Right now, the FBI is looking into it. They're saying that terrorism is not being motivated here, but it is a strange incident. Two men who are dressed as women take their car, an SUV, drive it into the gates at Fort Meade, where one of the guards shot and killed one of those two assailants. It is a bizarre story. Look, you know as well as I do, Fort Meade, outside of Washington, a very secure facility, the second largest employer. Actually, I think it is the largest employer in the state of Maryland. It is a key federal facility. This kind of attack certainly raises eyebrows.
2 minutes, here we go. The prosecution has rested in the Boston Marathon bombing case. The defense is at work today. And the last thing that people saw was the medical examiner on the stand showing graphic pictures of the people who were injured and killed, and basically circling one and saying this was an 8-year-old child.
Yeah, it was a stunning way to end the prosecution's brief. I think they're going to get a conviction here. It's a fascinating trial. I'll be very curious to see how the defense tries to poke holes in their arguments, but the prosecutors ended on a very powerful emotional note today.
Would you personally vote for the death penalty?
Yes, absolutely. In this case, absolutely.
Interesting how there's a lot of people in Massachusetts who say they won't. Okay, we got about a minute left here. Let's lighten things up, if you will. Trevor Noah, if America's not heard his name before, here's a tweet from Trevor Noah, who basically is said, I can't replace Jon Stewart, but he will. He is going to be the new host of The Daily Show. He's 31 years of age. He speaks several languages. He's South African. He's a very funny guy, apparently. But I don't know, Kevin, I think that I wouldn't want to be the guy to basically follow up with Jon Stewart. I don't know if you can be that successful again.
It's definitely a hot seat. Look, it's always tough to follow a legend, and whether we like him or not, Jon Stewart certainly has had that role on The Daily Show for many years now. Trevor's an interesting guy. He's been there since Trevor Noah has been there since December 2014. There have been a lot longer staffers there, and Samantha Bee comes to mind. But he is an interesting guy. He can be very funny. I'll be curious to see whether his diverse background, speaking 6 languages, whether or not that translates to viewers in America. We'll see.
I just don't know at this point if there's really any further ground to be broken, because Stewart, I think, pretty much did everything way over the edge. I don't know if you can go much farther than that, but let's wish him luck and see what happens. I'm sorry you didn't get the job. I'm sorry you didn't get the job, though, Kevin. I really had put you in there in the slot for it, so I'm sorry it didn't happen.
Thank you, Ed.
Maybe you and I can co-host. There you go. Kevin Derby, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
All right, lighting up the Sunday Beltway are those seeking answers from politicians, those people who want the politicians to tell them the absolute truth. No doubt about it. Tell us everything that you know. You can guess where this is going, right? The Sunday Sounders are next from Washington, D.C. when MidPoint continues.